Hello, everyone. So last week we looked into the situation analysis, and the situation analysis is also known as background research, as you all know. Background research or situation analysis is one of the very important part of the public relations campaign because it helps you to understand the context for your public relations campaign that you are designing. So writing the situation analysis, which comprises of the PEST, P-E-S-T, which stands for political, economic, social, and technological, and the SWOT, which is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, the PEST, which is the external environmental scanning, you look at the political, economic, social, and technological factors that impacts or having an impact on the topic that you're exploring. The situation analysis doesn't have to be written as a paragraph. It can be, you can use bullet points to write down the situation analysis, and that's absolutely fine. To identify your facts and figures for the situation analysis, for the PEST particularly, which is the political, economic, social, and technological, you need to have particular facts or figures that you can get from through your research. And then, of course, through that, the topic that you are working on, you will have a much more concrete understanding of what's happening and what you can pitch. So in a way, you will be able to understand the gaps that's there in the campaign at the moment. So now that we have worked on the situation analysis, you know that what's happening, yeah? And because you now know what's happening externally, you also know what are the issues and what are your opportunities for the campaign plan. It is also helping you with a better understanding of previous campaigns, your audiences, the social media channels that you will be using for your campaign. And of course, from situation analysis, we go on to develop our next step, which is the goals and the objectives. So the goals and the objectives, of course, there are specific differences between the goals and objectives. Oftentimes, many of the people kind of confuse between goals and objectives. However, once you have got your aims, you then need to think about what is your broader task, and the broader task that you want to achieve through the campaign plan is actually your goal. Your goal can be to enhance the reputation, it can be to build a relationship, or it can be even planning for certain tasks. And after that, you need to have a very clearly written objective. Objectives should be smartly designed, which means it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So once you have written down your objectives, then you need to think about whether you can evaluate those objectives at the end of your campaign plan to check whether you were on the track in delivering it. Okay, so the objectives are there for you to kind of build awareness within your target audience, and you want them to take specific actions. So for the objectives, one thing that we have to think about is what we want to achieve through this campaign plan. And those are the key points of discussion that you get from the PEST that you have done. So say, for example, if I am designing a campaign on poverty in UK, what I will be doing is I will try and look into what has been already done in the PEST. And for my objectives, I will through my research, if I've found that there is a gap in how poverty has been explained, or the kinds of poverty that happens in the UK, we don't have a concrete understanding on that, then what we will do is we are going to then have an educational campaign where we will be specifying things like on poverty to discuss with specific target audiences. And the objective, one of the objectives can be to reach out to, say, for example, 100 audiences through the social media. Maybe I want them to respond by actually participating in the tweet, or to retweet it. And accordingly, I can say, well, if this campaign is running for about 1 year, or the first 3 months, I want to build an awareness. I want to educate the public through Twitter and Instagram, and I want to target about 500 people in the first 5 months. So it is specific, it is measurable, it is timely, and it is realistic as well. Therefore, when it comes to evaluation, I will be able to monitor what I have done in regard to what I have proposed in my objectives, and if I was successful or not. So after 5 months, we can evaluate that, and then if we were not successful, we can then change the plan or update the plan accordingly. So it kind of helps us to achieve what we want to achieve. Objectives have got a lot to do with what we have learned from the past, because if we have got our background research right and we understand the factors, we learn from our past, and then we know exactly what we want to do in the future. Now, say for example, if you're running this campaign for 1 year, you do not want to give yourself too much of a hard task by looking into too many objectives. For a year, I believe 5 to 10 objectives are absolutely fine. But then within that 5 and 10 objectives, you might also identify short-term and long-term objectives. A short-term objective can be for the first year to test out, and then the rest of the objectives can be expanded, or it can be pitched as a separate campaign, as a continuation for this campaign. Objectives do matter quite a lot for a public relations campaign plan, because they are the specifics that you aim to achieve through your campaign. If you get your objectives wrong, or if you don't specify, or if you have mentioned something very vaguely in your objectives, it will not be possible for you to monitor that, and as a result, you won't be able to evaluate whether it was a success or not. Oftentimes, objectives can also be split into every 3 months, so that every 3 months there are mid-term evaluation to evaluate it. So there are different ways through which you can actually approach it. But what is very important is to kind of design the objectives in a manner that is achievable, that is attainable, that is realistic. So you're not going to go for something by saying, well, you want to have 1 million view of a YouTube content that you're producing on the campaign because in the first 3 months, because that's not feasible. It's not possible to achieve that. So finally now, just to test your knowledge, here are 4 objectives that I have written down. So imagine that your objective 1 is contact 5 local newspaper houses to cover the campaign within the first 3 months of starting the campaign. Objective 2 is gain 5,000 subscribers on YouTube within the first 2 months of the campaign. Objective 3 is to contact 6 schools to educate on mental health and wellness. Objective 4 is achieve 450 retweets within the first 6 months of the campaign. Which one do you think has been smartly designed and why?